like touch on your early childhood, where you grew up and a little bit of family, but then graduate into, you going into the service, how you went in, you know, why you went into why you went into the Army versus whatever.
That itself is a story.
Well, and if there's something I think you might skip over, do you mind if I kind of interrupt and ask you questions at that point? But it's your story. So you tell it.
When you're ready.
I'm ready. We're good. We're rolling. So.
My personal story really starts when I was maybe 15, 16 years of age. More or less, that was the beginning of the war to me. The war was something out there in the future. We had a war. What did it mean to me? I fortunately had good teachers in high school, and they aimed me toward being of value to myself and to my country. And I know that sounds a little bit esoteric at this point, but it's true. I had teachers that cared. I hope they still do nowadays. For example, I started out to become a business student. I actually got a degree from Rutgers in business. In time. Yeah, I had to go at night sometimes for a couple of extra years to make up some time, but I got my degree. Did it do me any harm? Absolutely none. Because I've also found out that these same teachers told me, whatever you learn, you'll never lose. And added to everything else, it becomes part of you. Makes you whole, a whole person in every regard. It took me years to understand what that teacher was talking about. But now that I'm at the age when I can understand a little bit more, I see with the people I have to live with and deal with and understand how much smarter my teachers were than I thought. It all started with the movies. There was a point there where the United States Navy had, and I look back now, it must have been a propaganda film. Because I can use that word now, and there's no harm in using it. But I wanted to become a fighter pilot in the US Navy. Well, I went to enlist, and they accepted me. Then they found out I lied. That I was only 16, I had no permission to come.
This was what year?
I don't remember. But what I do remember, 33 Pine Street, New York. Look, an address that I had to go to be enlisted into this particular service. They were looking for young men who could fly or who could learn to fly. And I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the worst way. So bad that when they told me, you cannot become a fighter pilot because you're colorblind, it broke my heart. I got so mad at the damn Navy. I walked out of their recruiting office, I went next door and signed up with the Army. And I became a soldier. Had no reason to become a soldier except I hated the Navy. God's truth. You don't want me? Who cares? I'll find somebody that does. Did I enjoy the Army? Hell no. I had a good life in a little place called Metuchen, New Jersey. Good family. Father worked, mother worked. Every once in a while I worked too, doing chores. Otherwise, I had an easy life. suddenly, something else happened. They gave us exams, AGCTs, Army Ground Force tests, and I scored 140 something. I scored enough that it brought their attention to something else, and they had me put into something called ASTP, the Army Specialized Training Program. I joined that, and it became a little bit more lucid in my mind why I was there, because that program gave me insight as to why I was fighting and what I was doing. And then one day we had graduation, and at the graduation it was announced that the ASTP program had been forthwith discontinued. The next day I found myself in Fort Benning, Georgia. Heaven on earth, or something like that. It was such a change from my normal life when I suddenly found out I have to make my own bed. And I would eat whatever's there. And I'd stop bitching about everything because nobody listened. But I also learned a very important lesson: never volunteer. So I never volunteered, because the one time I did, I got myself in trouble. You know the old story about anybody there know how to type? If you're hamming up, you're the type to dig that ditch over there, etc., etc. Well, I was in Fort Benning, Georgia for 13 weeks, thereabouts, and did basic infantry training. Did I like it? Hell no, it was a rough go, but it was part of the life. And I was fortunate. I had sergeants above me then. At that time I had no rank. I had people that I reported to. And fortunately, the people that I reported to were smarter than me. I didn't know it at the time. But they were fine people. And they helped mold me and my friends, when I say my friends, my mates, fellow soldiers, into becoming good citizens, good soldiers, all the way. That part of my life was probably the best time I can remember beginning in service. Hard work, yes. Especially I had this one, I'll never stop calling him a son of a bitch. We used to say, Greenfield, you're a little blankety blank, and you're never gonna make that damn march. We had hikes, 8 mile, 10 mile, and there was a 20-mile forced march. And we had to carry a weighted, can you get the word out now? I can't remember. On our back. And it was rough. It was an 8-hour march. 8 hours. Water discipline. Just as if you were in battle. And we used to curse the officers and the sub-officers. Something fierce. Never realizing that these guys were saving our lives. Yes, I did pass it. And I came back and I said to, his name was, what the hell? He was, look at his names elude me after a while.
Was that your sergeant?
The sergeant was Staradub. But the guy, I really hated his guts. No, the sergeant I liked very much. But the commanding officer of my company, I hated him with such hate, you could cut it with a knife. He was one of these guys who went out of his way to hurt you rather than to help you. And just to cut my story back a little bit, eventually, after we were in combat for a while, somebody put a bullet from the rear into his neck. Did not kill him, but he was taken out of the battle and sent home. And all I remember at that time, when I heard what happened to him, everybody saying, yay, yay. And over the years, we had many reunions. He was never invited, even though he did regain his health. Eventually we were shipped across the country to learn about different types of warfare, because by this time, the Japanese were working island by island. And they put us through this type of warfare. Desert warfare, yes. Boats, absolutely. We would take a ship out in the morning, climb down ropes on the side, these big netted ropes, into little boats, maybe 2, 3, 4 miles out from shore, and then headed to shore, and under some simulated fire, you'd crawl your belly out of the front of that ship, right into the surf. Yeah, you were sandy and you were wet, you were beat, but you were a soldier, and you knew it. They instilled a certain pride in us. They talk about Marines. No different for us. We were proud of ours, our work. And then suddenly, we were told we were going to pack up and take a trip. Oh, that's nice. A trip. Atlantic City? Trip. They put us aboard a train, packed us in our kit and caboodle, our barracks bag on our back, and for the next 4 days, maybe it was 3, so many years ago, we were aboard a train going east. We were leaving the West Coast, where they had put us to fight the Japanese, and learn how suddenly something happened in Europe. They needed us. This is when the battles picked up pretty strong in portions of France and Belgium.
So this must have been in 1944. That'd be my guess anyways.
It's a pretty good guess.
So if you went, yes, and if you went in 40, you went in 43, according to your biography, your bio here, you went in 43, so this would have probably been 44.
Yeah. And I'll probably make about 16 more errors of timing, but
That's okay.
I'll do the best I can. Took us over to France, got off the boat, lay off. Went to camp there, Camp Lucky Strike in Normandy. Spent a week there, acclimating ourselves, chasing French chickens like girls, and having fun. The war was on. The shooting war was just east of us, a couple 100 miles. But we weren't worried. We were waiting to go fight and do our bit. Stupidly, we want to get in there.
So let me ask you one question to back up a little bit. When you went overseas, did you sail into France or did you sail into
We took a train.
England?
We took a train from the west to Massachusetts. Got on board a boat in Massachusetts. The boat dropped us off at Le Havre.
Okay.
And in
So
Le
this
Havre,
was probably late 44. We invaded in the summer of 44, so this was either fall or winter of 44.
makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense. We got over there and froze our butt off because we were wearing suntans. They didn't have time to outfit us with winter wear. It was so cold and there was snow on the ground and frigid. Someone, Major Ward, I'll never forget that, calls me in. He was the major at the time. Ed, gotta wake the guys up. I see you played a trumpet once. Can you blow taps? I said, no problem, sir. 5-something, next morning I got woken up and I'm told to blow taps. I put the mouthpiece to my lips and all that came out was, that was it. Major Ward said, Ed, forget it. Temperature on that day must have been 20 degrees or less. It was so bitter cold. We stayed there for a couple days, and then things started to heat up in Belgium. The bulge. They took us by train across Belgium over to the border of Belgium and Holland and Germany. And that's where we had our first baptism of fire. We crossed a river, what I think was the Rhine. We crossed the river under fire in the old trucks. We used to call them 2x4s. I don't remember now, it's so many years. And all I remember was Eddie North. Who's Eddie North? I never mentioned his name before. Eddie North was a captain of a shrimp boat down in Louisiana, and he was in my company, and he and I were about the same size, and we sort of teamed up as buddies. Why him? Because when the first 88 hit, alongside the truck we were both in, it blew the tarp, the cover, off the side of the ship, of the truck. It also blew Eddie North's shirt up off his back, and he was struck with a piece of shrapnel. We didn't even know it. He didn't even know he was hit. Oh, you don't know these things when you're in shock. And he had blood coming. And they took Eddie away. I never heard from him again. After the war, I tried on many occasions to contact him. Never found out more. I'm just hoping he made it. Because that was our first baptism of fire. And the rest was fun. What kind of fun?
So backing up a little bit, was that it? Was that in the bulge? Was that in the Battle of the
No,
Bulge, or was
that's
that
just
a little later?
No, this is while the bulge was still cooking. We were heading down, I guess, the Rhine River.
Probably not the Rhine at that point. That was too early for being at the Rhine.
We were in a store at a place. It was one of the big rivers. We crossed it under fire. Had to be. Had to be. There was two major rivers, you're right. I just don't remember.
Yeah, I think that the Rhine's a little further east of the Bulge, but
Oh yeah, the bulge is in Belgium.
right. So, and I don't remember all those rivers in Belgium either.
But
And that was a cold winter.
a little bit. It was so cold, We were living in the snow. Eventually, they sent replacement clothes for us. There we stood, in the cold, in the snow, putting on ODs, winter ODs. That's what they sent us.
So were you sleeping in, did you have tents or were you just sleeping in holes?
We were sleeping in holes wherever we could. We'd lay down our tent half and curl up as best we could. Yeah, you learn real fast. It was cold, bitterly cold. You'll never forget the cold when you grow up. I've never forgotten it. I've never forgotten it. It was bad. And what we did do from there on was very lucky. At that point, the weather opened up and our Air Force was able to come out and they started to bomb a city in front of us, in front each day. They call it skip bombing, that's what they told us. They bomb one day, and then we go in the next morning, there's a fight. By the time we got in there, it was softened up pretty well because those bombs coming down kicked the hell out of the enemy. I'll never forget the first one that I killed. This guy walks out of a passageway between houses, carrying his gun. He surprised me, and I surprised him. Fortunately, I was faster. But this was the sort of thing that happened. Later on, the next day, after a night's rest, if you can call that rest, I went back to see this fellow. And he was laying there, frozen stiff, in the snow, in the cold. Yeah. How did I feel? Nobody asked me. I just felt miserable. You might think, oh, what the hell? It's not so. Nobody likes it. You do what you have to do.
What kind of weapon did you carry?
I went into service with an M1 Garand. That lasted the first week or two. That's why I picked up a carbine. What it did do was save me a lot of weight. And most of the fighting was done close enough. We were not firing at 1,000 yards. We were firing at a couple hundred feet at the most. And the carbine was much better as an enclosed weapon.
But semi-automatic?
Yes, sir. But I had 14 or 15 shots in those days in a clip. Later on, in the movies, they used to have 2 or 3 clips together. We didn't have that. You had your own rifle or your own weapon, and you had what came with it. It was good. And we jumped from